Alright, let's talk about Napoleon Bonaparte, and not like he just stepped into power after the revolution. Because before the empire, before the battles, he's just a kid from an island nobody in mainland France takes seriously. He's born in 1769 on Corsica, right after France takes control of it. His family isn't poor, but they're not powerful either. Minor nobility at best, enough status to get opportunities, not enough to guarantee success, and that matters. Because from the start, he's an outsider, different accent, different background, different identity. When he's sent to mainland France for school, he's around 9 years old, and he doesn't fit in. He's mocked, isolated, and keeps mostly to himself. But that isolation, it sharpens him. He turns inward, obsesses over reading, history, war, strategy. He's not trying to fit in. He's trying to understand how power works. By the time he's 16, he graduates from military school and becomes an artillery officer. That's fast, and artillery matters. It's technical, precise, strategic. Not just charging into battle, but controlling it. For a few years nothing major happens, he's just an officer, watching, waiting. And then the French Revolution explodes. This is where everything changes. Because when a system collapses, new people get opportunities. Napoleon is around 24 years old when he gets his first real break. The siege of Toulon. Royalist forces, backed by the British, are holding the city. Napoleon comes in with a plan. Not brute force, positioning artillery in a way that forces the enemy out. It works, the city falls. And just like that, he gets noticed, promoted, now he's on the radar. At 26 he's given command of the army of Italy, and this is where he proves himself. Not just as a strategist, but as a leader. His army is underfed, under-equipped, and outmatched. But he moves fast, splits enemy forces, attacks where they're weakest, wins battle after battle, and suddenly, he's not just a promising officer, he's a rising force. At 28 he goes to Egypt. And this campaign is different, part military, part political, part symbolic. He wins battles on land, but loses control at sea when the British, led by Horatio Nelson, destroy his fleet. So now he's stuck. Cut off. And instead of collapsing, he adapts, he leaves, returns to France, and by the time he's 30 the government is weak, unstable. People are tired of chaos. And this is where Napoleon makes his move, the coup of 18 Brumaire. He takes control, not as king, not yet, but as first consul. Now he's in charge. And once he has power, he locks it in. He stabilizes the economy, reforms education, centralizes authority, and creates one of his most lasting impacts. The Napoleonic Code, a legal system that spreads beyond France and influences law even today. At 35 he crowns himself emperor. Not elected, not chosen. He takes the crown and puts it on his own head. That moment says everything. He didn't rise within the system. He replaced it. Now comes the expansion. Austria, Prussia, Russia. At 36 he wins the Battle of Austerlitz, one of his greatest victories. Outnumbered, outpositioned. And he still wins. That's peak Napoleon. Fast, decisive, unpredictable. For years he dominates Europe, reshaping borders, installing leaders, expanding influence. But here's where things start to shift, because power at that level requires constant control, and when something breaks, it breaks big. At 43 he invades Russia. And this is the turning point. The Russian army retreats, burns everything behind them, no supplies, no shelter. Then winter hits, and his army collapses. Not in one battle, but over time. Cold, hunger, exhaustion. That loss changes everything. Now the momentum is gone. At 45 he's forced to abdicate, exiled to the island of Elba. For most people, that's the end. For him, it's not. Less than a year later, at 46, he escapes, returns to France, and what happens next is insane. Soldiers sent to stop him join him instead. He rebuilds power, almost instantly. This period becomes known as the 100 Days. But it doesn't last, because this time, his enemies are ready. At 46 he faces them at the Battle of Waterloo, and this time, he loses, decisively, no comeback, no recovery. He's exiled again. Farther this time, to St. Helena, a remote island in the Atlantic, and there, he spends the rest of his life. He dies at 51, not in battle, not in power, but removed from everything he built. Napoleon doesn't just rise through opportunity, he creates it, he takes advantage of chaos, and turns it into control. But in the end, he runs into something even he can't outmaneuver. Limits, of supply, of geography, of time. He didn't just change France, he reshaped Europe. But even at that level, power doesn't last forever.